Rain glazed the cracked asphalt as I clutched my last cigarette, soaked wool sticking to shivering limbs. The motorcycle had stalled yards behind, headlights drowning in mist. Not mechanical failure, intention, waiting. I lit the match against the gas tank. Flame trembled, mirrored in my corneas, smoke threading upward like a ghost reluctant to leave. Each inhale burned nostalgia. Tobacco never masked the scent of Kabul, nor the stench of betrayal still lingering in my nostrils. Behind me, silence dissolved, footfalls, not casual, trained, stealthy rhythms synchronized. Then a voice, sharp yet smooth, barked a name I hadn't heard since desert sands swallowed blood and brothers. Isaiah Maddox. I didn't turn. Face me. The command wasn't necessary. I knew the tone, authoritative but weary. Men like him had seen too much, lost more. Captain Jonathan Rains. He approached without caution, rain bouncing from his beret. His face was older now, wrinkled around eyes that once saw joy, now glassed with regret. Behind him, 50 figures, materialized, boots rhythmically crunching gravel, uniformed alert, weapons at the ready. I told you, I said, flicking ash toward the puddle. If I saw you again, there'd be no salutes. You're surrounded, he replied. Don't make this worse. Worse, they thought this was about justice. They didn't know the real war never ended. Rewind 10 years. Kandahar base. I slept with one eye open, palm under my rifle. The sun scorched everything. Dreams, morale, even conscience. We weren't peacekeepers. We were ghosts with badges. No one talked about Unit 47. Officially, it didn't exist. Just us, a dozen fractured minds molded into one precise storm. Jonah. Kim, the medic with fingers of a sculptor. Avery Diaz, sniper who never missed, not even in darkness. Eli Chaplain Burke, preacher turned killer who carried scripture with his sidearm. Me, I handled demolitions, called Surge, because when I moved things changed shape or ceased to. One mission unraveled us. Intel suggested a warlord was stockpiling chemical agents in an orphanage. Orders were clear. Confirm, neutralize. We entered under cover of night. Inside, cries echoed through cracked walls. Barefoot children, chalk drawings, rusting swings. No evidence of weapons. No threat. Still, Rains whispered through comms. Proceed. We hesitated. One by one, we placed charges. Guilt stung. Chaplain prayed louder. Avery looked away. Jonah vomited. I hesitated last. You sure? I asked Rains. His silence haunted. The explosion split dawn. Afterward, we found nothing but toys, blankets, tiny shoes. We weren't punished. The files were buried. The children weren't. That day, my soul stopped. Back in the present, I faced Rains. They'll kill you, he warned. They already did, I replied. One soldier stepped forward, rifle-trained, fresh-faced, barely 20. Never fired outside a training ground, I guessed. Don't, Rains ordered. Maddox isn't. Your enemy, thunder growled above. My hands remained visible, empty but heavy. Not with weapons, with memories. He tried negotiation. There's still a way out. There never was. You can't run forever. I'm not running. Lightning carved the sky, illuminating their faces. Fear behind stoicism. I had nothing to lose. That's what made me dangerous. I walked toward Rains. He didn't flinch. You buried us, I whispered. You let command erase the truth. I followed orders. Good soldiers do, I spat. I passed him. A wall of rifles blocked escape. I raised my arms, not in surrender but defiance. You all hear stories, I addressed the circle, but none of you lived what I did. They didn't lower weapons. Every night I hear laughter that turns to screaming. You think I'm a threat, I'm the result. Rains stepped beside me. What do you want? Redemption. How? I knelt. Trial. He looked stunned. For what? Everything. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, sterile and indifferent. Concrete walls echoed every cough, shuffle, breath. A chamber built to contain guilt, not dispense justice. Steel cuffs clung to my wrists like parasites. I stared straight ahead, refusing to acknowledge the cameras, the murmuring crowd, or the prosecutor whose voice dripped with rehearsed outrage. Isaiah Lennox Maddox, she declared, enunciating each syllable like a sermon. "You stand accused of desertion, theft, sabotage, and multiple counts of conspiracy against the United States government." I blinked once. Truth hid behind words like those. Aged wood creaked as the judge, cloaked in authority, leaned forward. His eyes betrayed neither sympathy nor condemnation, just fatigue, the kind that accumulates after decades watching humanity fail itself. My court-appointed defender adjusted his tie, sweat trickling beneath his collar. He'd read my file, memorized the facts, but missed the meaning. No document captures screams echoing inside shattered helmets or the scent of burning childhoods. He leaned toward me. "Anything you want to add before proceedings begin?" I replied with silence. Emotion erupted in the gallery. Journalists scribbled. Former comrades watched, eyes filled with conflict. Some knew, most assumed. Only one had witnessed everything. Rains sat alone in the back, expression unreadable. 12 hours into testimony, Jonah's name surfaced. Sergeant Kim, the prosecutor continued, was found deceased in an alley 3 years after the Kandahar incident. Toxicology revealed high doses of morphine. I winced. He'd saved lives. Gentle hands capable of stitching flesh, unable to mend his own psyche. Afterward, he'd vanished into alleys, syringes, oblivion. The prosecutor pressed further. And the sniper, Corporal Diaz. She disappeared. I finally spoke. Gasps rippled. She hadn't vanished. She'd changed identities, disguised herself in normalcy. Art teacher somewhere in Oregon, painting landscapes instead of lining up targets. I'd promised never to reveal her location. The courtroom froze at my voice. Even the judge paused his pen. "Speak clearly, defendant," the prosecutor demanded. "I said she disappeared. You aided her escape?" "No, a lie. One of many I would carry. Lunch break arrived like a limp handshake. I sat alone at a bolted-down table in a holding room smelling of bleach and old decisions. A visitor knocked. Not Rains. Someone else. Eli Burke, chaplain. His frame had thickened, beard peppered with silver, collar still clerical. His eyes, however, remained familiar. Tired, like mine. "They let you in?" He smiled faintly. "Still have connections. You here to forgive me?" He chuckled without humor. "I'm not sure I've forgiven myself." We shared silence. Like old soldiers share cigarettes warily, intimately. He sat opposite, gaze fixed. "Why do this?" "Because someone must. No one would have known." "That's the problem." He leaned forward. "I baptized orphans before their bodies were vaporized. What absolution exists for that?" "None. So what's the point?" "To testify." Afternoon brought testimonies. Civilians we'd displaced. Families we'd broken. Records wiped clean by higher powers resurfaced like bloated corpses. One woman described her brother, 16, conscripted by local militia, mistaken for enemy, executed without trial. I remembered him. Trembling hands, eyes wide. He'd dropped. His weapon. I pulled the trigger anyway. Now I studied my fingers, veins mapped with decisions. Cross-examination revealed holes. Fabrications exposed. Military counsel shifted uncomfortably. My defender asked, "Did you believe your actions justified?" "No." "Then why act?" "Because pausing would have meant dying." "From whom?" "Command. Myself. All of it." Evening. Descended. The gallery emptied. Rains remained. As guards escorted me past him, he rose. "I want to testify." Gasps again. Objections flew. Judges huddled. Eventually permission was granted. He took the stand, swore an oath, spoke clearly. "We were told the orphanage harbored chemical threats. The intel was fabricated." Murmurs exploded. "Fabricated?" the judge repeated. "Yes," Rains confirmed. "The true objective was to remove witnesses. Children were considered liabilities. Why follow orders?" "I believed we were protecting operatives. I was wrong." "Did Maddox know?" "Not until after." The gavel struck. "We'll reconvene tomorrow." Back in my cell, I watched fluorescent halos flicker above peeling paint. Chaplin's words echoed. What's the point? Maybe the point wasn't absolution. Maybe it was bearing witness, dragging buried bones into daylight, so future monsters knew someone remembered. I closed my eyes, but I didn't sleep. Not yet. Morning arrived cloaked in fog, not outside, within. My thoughts swirled, dense with doubt. That cold metal bench beneath my spine never softened, but somehow it felt familiar now, like punishment sculpted precisely for me. Breakfast, stale. Bread, lukewarm liquid masquerading as coffee, arrived without ceremony. I barely acknowledged it. My appetite was buried somewhere in Helmand province, alongside innocence and 6 unmarked graves. The courtroom reeked of perfume, sweat, anticipation. Cameras rolled, voices whispered like vultures circling. I entered, chained, escorted by faceless guards. My shoes echoed loudly, each step a drumbeat counting down to confession. A new witness waited, an older man, decorated, with bars on his chest and rot in his gaze. General Whitaker. He took the stand with a smirk. I authorized Operation Chalkline. He admitted it. Just like that. Gasp. Scribble. Gavel. My eyes narrowed. Those children, he said, posed potential security threats. Preemptive neutralization was a necessity. He said it like weather. No remorse. No uncertainty. Collateral. Consequences are unfortunate realities. He called them consequences, not names, not lives' consequences. I clenched my jaw so tightly the inside of my cheek split open. Blood pooled beneath my tongue. I swallowed it. Better than rage. My attorney rose, incredulous. You're admitting to targeting non-combatants. They weren't. Confirmed civilians, Whitaker replied. They occupied a red zone. Intelligence suggested indoctrination. They were coloring. Precisely the camouflage insurgents use. I stood. Permission to speak? Denied, the judge ruled. Whitaker grinned, smug, triumphant. The courtroom spun. I saw bunk beds charred. I heard lullabies replaced by shrapnel. The screams were mine now. Recess offered no relief. Chaplin waited in the corridor, sipping vending machine. Tea hands trembling. You saw him? I asked. He nodded. We served together. Figures. Corruption breeds familiarity. You ever believe him? Once? Still pray? Sometimes? For me? He looked away. I'm not sure who you are anymore. Neither am I. That evening something shifted. I requested access to the evidence room. Unusual but granted. Inside, boxes of reports, photos, transcripts, records clawed from memory's basement. I found a folder marked 47 Delta, internal debrief inside, typed confessions signed by a whistleblower. Redacted but unmistakable, the signature was Raines's. He had tried, silently buried by bureaucracy, crushed beneath classification. He hadn't forgotten, neither had I. When proceedings resumed, I felt clarity, sharp as a blade. The judge requested final statements. I rose slowly, deliberately, cameras zoomed. My voice steadied. You all want absolutes. Good versus evil. Orders versus chaos. But life isn't theater. The gallery hushed. You see a uniform and assign loyalty, a discharge and assume betrayal. But I followed commands that murdered toddlers. Faces flinched. I didn't join. To destroy. I enlisted to protect. Then I was taught to redefine threat until anything brown, poor, foreign became hostile. Some scribes stopped writing. Silence let it happen. Silence is louder than detonations. I glanced toward Whitaker. Justice doesn't live in uniforms, it lives in consequence, not theirs, ours. The jury deliberated overnight. I didn't wait for results. I knew they wouldn't convict the system, just the symptom. Verdict: dishonorable discharge retroactively applied. Sentence: 5 years incarceration, 3 suspended. Time: served recognized. Release freedom. No just geography. Chains replaced by shadows. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. I said nothing. Raines stood nearby. He approached. I expected words. Instead, he saluted, then walked away. I didn't return the gesture. Some ghosts deserve solitude. That night, under neon street lamps, I found a church, empty, dust in pews. I sat, not to pray, to remember, each name, each face, one by one, until I cried without sound, because sometimes survival is the heaviest guilt of all. Steam rose from the asphalt as the morning heat pressed down like judgment. I wandered through alleyways where no headlines reached, past dumpsters, broken glass, and bent bicycles. Civilization wore its mask here, graffiti scrawled over advertisements, silence louder than sirens. Nobody recognized me anymore. No one cared. Fine. Let anonymity cradle me. I found shelter beneath an overpass where pigeons nested and rainwater pooled in oil-streaked puddles. A shopping cart leaned sideways, filled with someone else's yesterday. Next to it, an old woman sat knitting air, lips moving without sound. "Do you believe in redemption?" I asked. Her eyes sparkled, cloudy yet defiant. "Depends whose. Askin'." I gave her my name. She nodded, then laughed. Not cruelly, softly, like someone who'd already forgiven everything, including herself. I worked nights cleaning subway platforms. Mop in hand, head down, invisible. Graffiti stared back. No heroes here. One evening I found a backpack left behind. Unzipped it cautiously. Inside, textbooks, homework, a half-eaten apple. No bomb, no secret plot. Just evidence of someone rushing. Through life. 15 minutes later, a teenager ran down the steps wild-eyed. "That yours?" He froze. I extended the bag. He took it silently. Started walking away. Paused. "Thanks, man." I nodded once. He disappeared into the tunnels. Days blurred. I didn't speak much. Instead, I watched. People stumbling home drunk. Fathers holding daughters tight, lovers arguing then forgiving. Life continued, indifferent. Sometimes, I wrote in a battered notebook. Names, moments, dreams. A list of those never coming back. Not just the ones who died. The ones who changed so much, even their reflections seemed foreign. One cold morning I found a dog limping behind a dumpster. Fur-matted ribs visible. "Come here," I whispered. He didn't trust me at first, neither did I. Eventually he followed. I named him Dust. Not for where I found him, but for what we both came from. He never left my side again. Visited Jonah's grave. Left flowers. Sat in silence. Thought of him stitching wounds and whistling Miles Davis between explosions. I told him I was sorry. Then I told him I was still trying. Months passed. One afternoon, a woman approached me on the U. "Bus, I read about you," she said. "The soldier." I braced myself. "I don't care what they said. You did something brave." I didn't know what to say, so I didn't. She handed me a book. A memoir. Her brother's. He'd served too. Lost to the same war. I read it cover to cover that night. We weren't alone. Eventually I stood outside a school, watched children draw chalk rainbows on the sidewalk. Their laughter stung, but it also healed. They didn't know me, didn't need to. They existed. That was enough. I never got famous. No interviews, no monuments, but someone painted a mural downtown. A soldier's face, not mine, split down the middle. One side helmeted, eyes sharp. The other side worn, beard grown, tears rolling down sunken cheeks. Beneath it, "The fight doesn't end when the guns do." I stood there for a long time, dust at my feet, tail wagging. I lit a match. Not for smoke, for memory. Held it up against the wind, watched it flicker, then extinguish. I walked away. Still haunted, still healing, but walking, always walking, towards something I didn't need to define. Because maybe the point was never the destination, only the journey, and what you carry when everything else burns.